Blood Time, the podcast that speaks to the bond, the emotion between coach and athlete at the interscholastic and intercollegiate level. Each interview, each segment will reveal that bond and what was learned, how they were transformed, and what each athlete took to the world at large from that transformation. These stories will warm your heart and astound you altogether. Submitted for your approval. Now it is Blood Time. I want to thank John Dyer, the CEO and founder at Nova Title, our newest sponsor. They're 20 years in business with offices in Worcester and Solon to serve you. They can be found at novatitleagency.com. They're making the American dream come true with 3 attorneys, 6 licensed title agents, 2 e-notaries on staff, and you can close at any time you're choosing. The American dream comes true at Nova Title. John Dyer and his staff will help you do so at novatitleagency.com. Hey guys, it's Coach Cimarroni here, Blood Time. I really want to thank my guests. What an all-star roundtable we had last week. Very soft-spoken guys, humble guys, but incredibly passionate about what they're doing. The family team from Defense Soap, what an amazing group of people there, started by Guy Sacco and his son Gus and Guy Sacco, terrific human beings and great supporters of our sport. I want to thank them and the inimitable Audie Atienza, soft-spoken guy, but so humble and so good at what he does. And, of course, coaching the storied program over at Solon High School. Yeah, last week, you guys did a great job. I was so honored to have you in the studio. Thanks again, guys, and good luck with a phenomenal program at Solon, and good luck, of course, with the growth at Defense Soap, which is growing by leaps and bounds. Today I have in studio another terrific businessman who was the ultimate grinder, came from the ultimate grinding family. I had the honor of coaching his brother Dar, who was literally the ultimate grinder at John Carroll University. Dar is also a neurologist. Yeah, and I've got his brother here in studio, Khash Saghafi. How are you, Khash?
I'm doing great. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. I mean, any chance to do anything in the sport of wrestling, it's great just because for how much the sport's given me. And just the names you mentioned before me, quite honestly, I just want to kind of crawl under the table.
Oh, God bless you.
You're talking about Gus Sacco and Defense Soap, or Guy Sacco and Defense Soap, and Audie Atienza, who's just a legend in the sport. I mean, just what he did in high school and college, and now he's coaching and teaching. And I mean, I'm oh my God, I'm like 100 steps behind those gentlemen.
Well, listen, you're not, and here's why you're not. Because the Blood Time podcast, Khash, is about the transformation between the athlete and the coach, and then what did you do with it in the world at large. And so the stories we hear are from everybody from Lee Kemp to Scott Zafinovitz. And you talk about, differences in obviously talent, differences in accomplishments, but amazing things that they've done in the real world. Scott Zafinovitz is one of the most wonderful human beings I've ever interviewed. He's a police officer at Chagrin Falls. Okay, never did anything really of note in the sport, but is a terrific athlete, was a captain of our team. He was an inspiration to the younger guys, okay, but what he did in the real world. And so Lee Kemp, obviously, you can't get better than that. The best resume probably ever, right? I don't or arguably top 5, right? Yeah. And what he's done in the real world now with his phenomenal his autobiography, right?
Yeah, absolutely came out with the movie.
Exactly, Wrestled Away. So we love them both, and all the other stories. And so you're in that lineage, you know what I mean?
I appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate it. I can't say I am, but I'll go with it for right now.
Well, you're a grinder. You're a grinder. Okay, so you're a grinder in high school, and then you go on and you walk on at Oklahoma State. Talk to me a little bit about that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wrestled at Normandy High School, which, Parma State School District. Yep. At the end of the day, I never even qualified to the state tournament.
Okay.
But I was, like, Coach Ferguson from St. Ed's was always kind enough to let me go up to his house and work out in the off season and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I got to know a lot of those wrestlers at St. Ed's that were really nice to me and showing me a lot of things. So I always
What era was this about?
1985.
Okay.
I was in high school from 87 to 91. So starting in 1985, I started going up to Coach Ferguson's house. And I met,
that's the golden era.
It is. Yeah. And I met a lot of the guys there at that time, Mike Carpenter, Alan Freed, guys of that nature. And they were always really welcoming to me and stuff like that. So starting when I was in 7th grade, I started getting into that. I started putting myself into those circles, or I should say my brothers drove me to those circles, right?
Gotcha.
So I always felt like I could compete with those individuals, because when you surround yourself by the right people, and that's just so important, you start believing and seeing that what they're doing is possible.
Yep.
So throughout high school, I never qualified to states. I mean, I always thought that I was better than I probably was.
Gotcha.
And at the end of my high school career, I still felt I had a lot of wrestling to go. But this time, I wanted to surround myself as a team, because my team at Normandy, we weren't really that good overall as a team.
Yes.
So I wanted to put myself and surround myself by the best people in the sport. So naturally at that time, Oklahoma State was, and just
they were the gold standard.
They were. Yep. And Iowa, of course, too.
Of course.
For a 10-year run they had.
Sure.
So I ended up going to Oklahoma State. I applied to 3 schools. I applied at Oklahoma State, Arizona State, and University of Iowa.
Sure.
Got accepted to all 3.
Okay.
And I decided Oklahoma State was where I wanted to go.
Gotcha.
And I ended up going out to Oklahoma State, and it was the best experience of my life, because at the end of the day, it followed exactly what I believed, which was if you surround yourself by the right people, you can definitely, good things can come from it.
Sure.
And I go all the way back to it's kind of funny if I can tell a story. I'm not sure how much I could.
Yeah,
I might just
please. We're here. We're here. Absolutely.
So I go
stories are what we're all about. Believe me. Yeah.
So it ends up that I get to Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm a walk-on. So I'm a walk-on. They don't know who in the world I am.
Gotcha. Well, if you're not making state at Oklahoma State, you're got to be a walk-on. Yeah. Exactly.
So I end up walking on. I go into the room and stuff. I call Alan Freed. Hey, Alan, Khash Saghafi. I'm out in Stillwater, whatever it is. Yeah. So I go in there. So I was just terrified they might kick me off the team, just because I was or cut me from the team, because they kick off or cut or whatever it is. Yeah. So now John Smith and Kenny Monday at the time, they were out at the World Championships.
Just average wrestlers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Didn't do too many things, right? So when they got back from the Worlds, we're having practice. And I'll always remember when John first came into the room, at that time, for me, he's walking on water. He'd already won. He just won his 5th world title.
Of course. Yeah.
And he still had 1 more to go with the Olympics coming up. And my friend Mike Joya, who was one of my teammates in junior high and high school.
Gotcha.
And Mike was a wrestling junkie himself.
Sure.
So I'm calling back home to Mike every single day. Yeah. And Mike's like, hey, so what moves did John Smith show? Because I've never had somebody of this level within 4 feet of me.
Not many have.
Yeah. Exactly. Let alone he's showing moves on me and stuff like that, Sure. And I'd call Mike, he was using me to show his high crotchety to the whole team. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So then John, the first day of practice, Mike's like, hey, Khash, what did he show? Mm-hmm. And I was like, Mike, craziest thing, man. He just showed a wrestling stance, and all we did was a stance in motion. Wow. But I said, I'm telling you, Mike, I promise you, the good stuff's coming. Just wait. All of a sudden, 5 days later, I call Mike. Mike's like, Khash, did he show the moves that he just won the Worlds with? I was like, I said, Mike, craziest thing. I said, it's been a week, and we just keep doing stance and motion drills. Wow. And Mike was like, well, are you guys doing moves off of it? Right. And I was like, no, we're just he's just getting a stance, circle, get your stance ready. Yeah. Fake, shoot, fake, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm not joking with you. It was 3 weeks. I'll never forget this. It's 3 weeks in, and Mike's like, Khash, did he show the move? And I literally said, I said, Mike, I'll be honest with you. I think he shows the same things that Coach Flory showed us in 7th grade at Hillside Junior High. Wow. And Mike was like, there's no way. And I said, Mike, I'm serious. I seriously think I don't think there's a difference. Wow. And to this day now, so my true freshman year at OSU, I got to OSU. I started school there August of 1991.
Sure.
I graduated May of 96.
Okay.
So it's Christmas break of December of 91, and John comes to me. Now, by this point, I don't know, he's regular. He's my coach. He's whatever. Yeah. And John says, hey, I need to start getting ready for, the training camps coming up for the Olympics. Sure. And now I was redshirting at the time.
Sure.
Alan Freed was starting.
Oh my God.
Wrestling Tom Brands and Pat Smith. Yeah. Pat was going for his 3rd title at that time.
Yeah.
And John says, I need a partner to work out with, so we'll start working out twice a day.
Yeah.
And he didn't say, is that okay with you? He just said we're going to work out twice a day. So I was 18 years old at the time. Sure. So I started working out with John twice a day, starting in January of 92.
Wow.
As he ramped up to go to the Olympics that summer, and then he won the Olympics in 92.
Sure.
His 6th world title.
Yep.
Well, we would work out twice a day. And to this day, I tell people, I say, because they'll ask me sometimes, they'll say, well, what was it like wrestling with them, training with them? And I tell people, imagine you're in a tornado or you've got 10 people around you with baseball. When he turned it on, I tried. I mean, it was intense.
Sure.
It was very focused.
Yes.
It was highly competitive.
Yes.
And the thing that I learned was John had a high crotch to his right leg, a low single to high crotch to my right, low single to the left, and a snap down.
Yep.
He only had 3 moves.
Yes.
I say he only had 3 moves. But he could do... I could tell you what was coming. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. He can tell you what was coming. It didn't matter. Now, the thing that I felt good about was when Kendall Cross would jump into the group, it'd be me, John, and Kendall.
Sure.
Now, Kendall was on the Olympic team in 92 and won the Olympics in 96, and he won a national.
Yep.
So sometimes I throw these names out there.
Sure.
For me, it's just
for reference.
For reference.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just did it to everybody, though.
Yes.
So, I mean.
But that's great, because that is exactly what a great coach tells a kid.
Yeah.
Get your match down and take it to the opponent. Don't worry about what the other guy's doing. Take it 100%. To the opponent.
100%.
And you only need a couple moves.
That's it.
Right?
You had 3 moves.
Yeah.
High crotch single, snap down.
Right.
And if you stopped his high crotch because you down blocked him there, he then went for the single. If you down blocked to the left side, he then snapped you because and then he'd fake and pull you. It was just a circle of 3 moves.
Sure.
Relentlessly.
Sure.
And John never lifted weights.
Yeah.
We'd watch him squat. I can't say athlete. I mean, athlete to me, like when you say athlete to me, I'm thinking LeBron James dunking, spinning, this, that, the other, whatever it is. Yeah. Ultra flexible. John was very flexible. Yeah. But just he knew what he wanted to do.
Right.
He executed at the highest level I've ever seen. And I had some pretty good teammates. I mean, Pat Smith, we were roommates. I lived with Pat when he won his 4th title.
Wow.
Alan Freed, still to this day, who I personally think, now I'm probably biased because of my relationship with Alan from the time I was in elementary and junior high.
Yeah.
He was a few years ahead of me, so I was really high up to him. But I personally think Alan was the greatest wrestler I've ever wrestled with. I mean, John was. We had a lot of people in between in there. But Alan they had the complete package, in my opinion, of everything.
To what you're talking about, I just sparred with him a little bit.
Yep.
I couldn't even put a hit on him. And this was, I think it was in 91. And I was a pretty good defensive wrestler, particularly I had man strength, it was my early 30s. And, I was really pretty good. I didn't even know where he was. I go, what did you do? He goes, I don't know. I just did it. He was like a ballet dancer, but brutal. You know what I mean?
I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. He was an assistant coach for me.
Oh, okay.
1 year. Watch him show the moves.
Yeah.
I got chills. It was so beautiful.
It was the great thing about Al, but the great thing about a lot of my teammates out there is that ultimately I was a career backup at Oklahoma State.
Sure.
I started as a freshman, but then we were suspended by the NCAA for rules and infractions they have before I got there, whatever. Yeah. And then I was a backup for the next 3 years.
Gotcha.
So I was a career backup is the bottom line of it. But the thing that I felt really lucky for was that my teammates never treated me like that.
Gotcha.
And they always treated you. John treated me like you're the starter. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is at any time somebody can go down.
Next man up.
It's next man up.
Yeah.
So everybody had to be ready. Right. So they always talked to me, treated me, drilled with me, practiced with me like I was the guy.
Gotcha.
And it was every day of 5 years out there.
Yeah.
And how I transformed that. The lesson I learned from there. That was going to be my next
question. What was the transformation?
The transformation. Yeah. So the lesson I learned at Oklahoma State ultimately was John taught me how to identify your goal, how to come up with a set of actions to achieve those goals, and then you had to execute. Yeah. And it was so the life change the thing that really changed me, transformed me mentally, which ultimately helps me in my business today. Which I'm a mortgage lender. I own a mortgage company.
Liberty.
Liberty Home Mortgage.
Right on.
The thing I'll never forget this. It was my first 2 years at Oklahoma State. My record was 5-20. I lost a lot. Gotcha. 5 wins. Not to be fair to myself a little bit. There was a 10-day stretch I wrestled Kerry Colott. I wrestled the number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 guys in the country inside of a 10-day window. So to be fair to myself,
that's a tough one.
It was a little bit. We had a tough schedule. Okay,
exactly.
So I don't want to make excuses. I got beaten. Period. End of story. Yeah. And at Oklahoma State, you're supposed to beat all those guys.
Of course.
So there was no give of Hesh, but you wrestled good guys. It was you're supposed to beat these people.
Right.
But anyways, I was 5-20 my first 2 years. It's my 3rd year. It's August of my 3rd year. I'm in the sauna. John and I are just in the sauna. We're going to work out. Whatever. And I'll never forget this. John says, he says, your problem is you're too worried about winning and losing. That's what your problem is. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, well, but at the end of the day, that's all it's about.
Right.
Because I'll never forget, in one of the only matches I won, for goodness sake, sort of up to this point, was against Arizona State. And for me, it was like a big win, even though I didn't really beat anybody. I mean, Lord knows that Leroy Smith was the head coach of ASU at that time. Yeah. I think they just threw somebody out there just to not forfeit.
Yeah.
But I came off the mat, and John kicked me off the bench and said, "Go sit in the back," Yeah. And here I was at Sun Devil Arena, like Arizona State, like I just won a technical fall guy, and I was like, I was a young guy, I was 18 years old, and I was like, "This is my biggest win." And he kicks me off the bench. I had to go sit in the back. I was like,
funny,
whatever.
How funny.
And I'll never forget this. At that time, he said the problem is I expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself.
Wow.
And that was at that time. Then so fast forward back to the sauna. He says, I said it's all about winning. I said, when I lose, you tell me I should have won. I got to work harder. And when I win, I didn't win big enough.
Yeah.
It's all about winning.
Right.
And he says, you're missing the whole point. I'll never forget this. He says, you're so worried about winning and losing, you forget how to wrestle. He said, go out there and just worry about how you compete and do what we train you to do. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget this. Winning will take care of itself.
Yes.
I applied that as a backup. So I wrestled in a lot of tournaments.
Yeah.
So I was a tournament wrestler or whatever. So I was a back.
Yeah, sure.
My next 3 years at Oklahoma State, I was 50 wins and 25 losses. So I ended my career 55 wins, 45 losses as a backup, pretty much. But to go from 5-20 to 50-25 on that principle and how that affects me today is that in business today, I don't care if it's a $40,000 purchase or it's a $400,000 purchase. Now, the truth is, in my business, you make more money on bigger transactions.
Sure.
I completely don't care about how big, how small, how much money I'm making. Sometimes we do, and you'll know this from your business, of course. Yeah. Sometimes you do business and you lose money on that particular transaction. It physically costs you money to do it. I don't worry about how much I'm making. I just execute the job. I worry about closing as much as I can.
Sure.
And as long as you do that, money takes care of itself. So to my young employees today, I have 150, 160 employees
God bless you.
under
awesome.
me. Yeah. I tell the young guys that are now 22, 23 years old in my organization, I say, guys, because I'll get guys that come and say, Hesh, I'm not really making anything on this. I don't know if I'm going to do a deal. I say, listen, don't worry about how much you're making. Take care of the customer.
Yes.
Execute the job. Treat it like it's the only loan and the biggest commission you'll ever get. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the money will take care of itself. Because a lot of people say to me today, what I used to say to Jeff, I wouldn't say this to him for goodness sake, I think it, is that when he would say to me, Hesh, don't worry about winning and losing, just go out and compete. In my head, I was thinking, well, it's easy for you to say you won 6 world titles. I'll never forget, Pat Smith and I was telling somebody this yesterday, Oklahoma opened my true freshman year. I'm 18. Pat's already won 2 titles. He's going for his 3rd this year.
Sure.
And we're walking out. It's the Oklahoma Open preseason November term. And Pat's like, let's win this term. Let's win. And I was like, let's win this tournament. Now in my head, I was thinking, it's easy for you to say you won 2 titles. You go for 4 titles. I'm just hoping to make it to lunchtime. You know what I'm saying? If I get by the first round, hopefully I even got a buy going or something just to get me to the afternoon session.
Exactly.
You know? So what you put out versus what you truly feel on the inside. I mean, I can give my friend Steven Schmidt, we're like family. I mean, it's like we're teammates, you know?
Sure.
And Steven lost to Mark Ironside of Iowa in the national finals. And we're just talking. Now, Steven and I talk every single day.
Awesome.
To this day. And we're talking, and Steven said, he said, when I wrestled Mark Ironside in the national finals, he goes, deep down inside, I wasn't sure if I was going to win that match.
Mind-body connection. Mind-body connection. You have to have the heart and the mind working together. Liberty Home Mortgage Corporation for all your home mortgage needs. Reach out to them at libertyhomemortgage.org or call them at 440-665-7627. That's Liberty Home Mortgage. And, the other thing that you brought up with, the brilliance of Smith is so core to the brilliance of so many. And I had the honor of having Frank Romano in here.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Coach Romano,
How many national titles has he won? Created it basically at Notre Dame College. He says his thing is trust the process.
See, that gives me chills that you even say that.
Right.
Is that I was at one of my kids I coach. I say one of my kids. It's one of my kids I coach, Kale Voinovich.
Oh, yeah.
Whose older brother, Victor.
Yep.
Whose dad, Vic Voinovich, state champion.
Sure.
Lake Catholic High School.
Yeah.
Well, Victor wrestles at Brecksville High School.
Sure.
And Kale's at Brecksville at our middle school. And I volunteer assistant over at Brecksville High School. Awesome. So they let me hang around.
Kind of a mediocre program, right?
They're nice enough to just let me hang around. Sort of like Oklahoma State to let me stick around the program. Well, I was talking to Kale about this before the season started. Now, Kale's in 8th grade.
Sure.
He just won the middle school states for the second time.
Fantastic.
So back in November, he texted me. He said, Coach Khash, can we sit down and go over mental preparation of how I need to prepare to win another state title?
Exactly.
So I sat down with him. And I showed him, we went through the process of these are the sacrifices you have to make this year to win your state title. And this is November of 2019, and he just won the middle school states he hasn't won the middle school states yet because those aren't for a few weeks.
Gotcha.
So we're still a few weeks away from the middle school states.
Sure,
I shouldn't say he won it. He's favored, though.
He's favored.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So here's something I told him. This goes right to exactly what you said, what Coach Romano said,
right?
Which is what John Smith used to tell me all the time, trust the process. So I told Kale, I said, if the weekend of the state tournament, if we cut corners, didn't do everything, I said, actually I spun it this way first. I said, if we did everything right, you dieted right, you went to sleep on time, you did all the extras that you need to do, that you know you should do, and you stuck to those, you studied, you got the good grades, everything's in place. If you did all the right things, but all of a sudden going into the finals match, we always go to Subway before finals, you got that break of a few hours.
Yep.
And for some reason, you ate a bad sandwich, and it got your stomach, and the next thing you know, you're sick, you're not feeling good, and all of a sudden, that guy gets a call in the last 10 seconds of the match on the edge. You weren't feeling, and you lose. But you did all the things right the whole season, but you lose in the finals. Would you consider that season a success or not? And he said, well, no. He says, if I don't win the state tournament this year, I won it last year. So if I don't win it this year, whole thing's a failure. And I said, well, let me ask it to you like this. I said, if we cut corners and cheated, we ate the wrong foods, we did everything wrong. We never practiced as hard as we could. But the weekend of the states, that guy that was going to give you a run in the finals, that guy got upset in the semis. And then that guy that you're wrestling, who necessarily shouldn't have been there, you beat that guy. So now you're a state champ.
Great.
But we know deep down inside that you cut corners and cheating. You didn't do all the right things. Would you consider the season success? And he was just staring at the paper. He says, I guess, Coach, when you look at it like that, he goes, I guess I wouldn't. I said, so now let me circle it back.
Yeah.
If we did all the right things and we didn't win that one weekend, would you consider? And he said, if I did all the right things in the process, I guess I'd consider it success. I said, that's why you have to trust the process.
Yes.
Believe in the process.
Yes.
I said, that state finals match, I said, Kale, that's one moment, one time. Our career is not defined by a weekend.
Right.
It's defined by our daily actions of what we do to get there. And then what I'm most concerned with all the kids I coach, I know you are, because you've coached for much longer than I have.
Since the late 70s.
You know? I don't want to make you feel too old. Okay? I don't want to make you
I feel great. That's okay. You know what? I'm just happy to be alive.
So, there you go, right?
Hey, 62. Great.
God bless you. I mean, you don't look it for sure.
Oh, God.
So you look at so at the end of the day, what I wanted to transform is one of my kids today, Marshall Willett, just bought a house.
Fantastic.
I did his loan for him. I coached Marshall. I've been at Brecksville for 11 years. He's one of the first kids I coached.
I love that.
He's an engineer.
Yeah.
Great income. Great credit. 20% down. I forced him into a 15-year mortgage.
You're smart.
Now he's 25.
He's smart.
I went through all the financials with him.
Yeah.
I said, by the time you're 40, I said,
how much are you going to save? Right?
I said, which to you is a lifetime one. But I can go through Kyle Wright. Aaron Acid opened up Acid Academy. These are kids I coached in high school who today are men.
Yes.
And Aaron Acid's runs a business now, Acid Academy.
Yep.
He's coaching young kids and things like that now.
Sure.
And actually, he was at my house this morning. We're going over his financials because he has to do his taxes.
Yep.
So we're going over how to list out your income, your expenses on a spreadsheet. Him and I meet every 3 weeks.
Yes.
He still wakes up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So if Aaron's listening to this show, I'm not happy with that.
Yeah, that's right.
You're running a business now. We're not in high school anymore. Wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
But those are my greatest success stories.
Right? Yeah.
My greatest success stories are not Victor Voinovich winning states as a freshman.
Sure.
Aaron Acid winning states. Austin Acid starting for the University of Michigan. Those aren't my greatest stories. My greatest stories are my kids who are in the real world now, and they're applying these principles to how they work, and I'm coaching them and guiding them. Some of the best text messages I get are from Kyle Roddy. He says, Coach, I have a question. And he's reading books and texting me, is this a good book to read? And Kyle Roddy today is a manager at a Fortune 500 company, and he's brilliant. Those are my biggest success stories.
You've just defined blood time. Just defined it, because good and bad does not happen in a vacuum.
Yep.
They ripple. So what you are doing is rippling. And so
all
these stories, all these men, all these women that come here, whether I've had the honor of coaching them or not, I never have had the honor of doing that for you, but I did your brother. And you have rippled this goodness, if you will, this quality, this process throughout, and it's coming back to you. And there is nothing better. Like I feel the same. I get a text or an email or a call every day from somebody I coached.
Yep.
Hey, coach, what's going on? Okay, got a question for this. Personal, business, sport, whatever it is. It's a beautiful thing. So that's how Smith transformed you.
Hands down. Okay. It was seeing how he carried himself when he came in.
Sure.
Our workouts were only 30 to 45 minutes.
Yes.
But it was 30. It was like being in a gladiator Lions Den. I mean, it was game on when you went. I mean, Lord knows he just massacred me to death.
Of course.
But the upside is he also did it to the rest of the world.
Yeah, but you also got better. You got better.
Just observing.
Sure.
It's funny because I've wrestled with guys in the past at some different universities in the area when I was in college.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop you for a second. You made him better. And so here's where I'm going to tell you. A guy arguably as the same quality as Lee Kemp, Lee Kemp, John Smith. He sat, he didn't sit. He called me from Fresno, California in our 6th interview, I believe. No, 5th or 7th interview. And he said one of the top guys in my development was my drill partner.
Oh.
He was like a coach for me.
Yeah.
He says, and I beat the shit out of him every day, but he gave it my all. Yeah. His all. Okay. And so again, to continue your story, but I think that's really a poignant situation.
I appreciate it. I mean, the thing is that it's being surrounded by those people.
Right.
It's being around Pat Smith. At the start of the year, it was me, Randy Couture, Jay Rogers, Kirk Mammon, and Pat Smith in the run groups, running. Now, as a small guy, I should have been with the smaller guys,
right.
But I was slow. I was a slow runner. Gotcha. So Leroy Yost, our strength coach, was like, you run over there with those guys. Like, okay, cool. I was like, Pat Smith's in this group, so I'm not so horrible, I guess, right? And then Randy Couture, he was a 2-time national finalist.
I know.
And Kirk Mammon, I could go through all the guys. And it was at the start of the year, we were in the back of the pack.
Sure.
At the end of the year, they were in the front of the pack. I can't say I was in the back, but I wasn't too much far forward. But it was seeing how guys of that level,
yes,
when it really matters. The guy who beat me out for the starting team for 3 years, Scotty Renee, he was just better. I always tell people, I say, I wish I had a story of like, I should have been the starter and I should have won, but I tore up my knee. No, as a matter of fact, I was never healthier in my life. I don't even think I got the sniffles at Oklahoma State for 5 years. The air out there is pretty good or something like that, right? I had everything go my way. John, as a matter of fact, I think on multiple occasions tried to insert me into the starting position. Sure. When he inserted me and I lost, I wish I could say something different. You always have pride. Yeah. So even though it's been 25 years.
Yeah, you got to be honest.
Scotty always beat me. But even with Scotty, we had super close matches. But when it came time to wrestle out for the national tournament, he blitzed me. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when it came time for nationals, 4-time All-American he was. Yeah. He'd game on. You got to see the guy when you guys get to a point when moments happen and you got to turn it on. These guys at that level, they flip the switch.
Yes, they do.
So I apply that to what I do today.
Yes.
And I tell people this all the time that honestly, today at my business, I think I finally get it.
Okay.
I have confidence today where I feel confident with every day I get up, every day I go into work, every day I attack the day, I win that one day. And John, those are principles John used to tell me all the time when we were working out. Was just we'd be done working out, we'd be sitting on the wall, cooling down. Yeah. And he would say, listen, you guys start focusing on tomorrow. Yes. Just start focusing on tomorrow. Yes. Today's done. Worry about tomorrow. So he'd say all these little things to me. I know that we would go out after the season, and you're getting into April of 1992. Okay. So Pat just won his 3rd title. Sure. Alan had that year. We were suspended by the NCAA, so that was the 1 year Alan didn't wrestle at the national tournament.
He would
have won it that year. Yeah, no question about it. He lost to Brands. Yeah. He lost to Brands twice. Right. When I was a true freshman in a red. Let's see. When I was a true freshman. No, he lost to Brands the year right before I got there, and then when I was a true freshman, and then he suspended by the NCAA and moving forward. So it's April, so the season's done. Mm-hmm. So naturally, we're college kids. We're 19, 20 years old. Right. And we're going out, having fun, whatever. And we go to this place called Eskimo Joe's, which if anyone knows Oklahoma State and Stillwater, Oklahoma, you know Eskimo Joe's. So we'd go there in the afternoon on a Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get lunch. And we're a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds. Yeah. Again, you're talking Alan Freed, national finalist. Pat Smith, national champion. Alan Freed, national champion. Chris Owens, national finalist. I can give you a list of 7 guys off the top of my head that were national finals that year or whatever it was. Okay. And Kenny Monday would come and Kendall Cross would come and they would hang out with us, right?
Sure.
And John wouldn't come.
Yeah.
And we thought as a group, it'd be like he's like too good for us, whatever. I look back at that now, today, and I say he had a goal.
Yes.
He had a formula to get there.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, hanging out with a bunch of 20-year-olds at Eskimo Joe's, sitting around eating hamburgers, it wasn't part of the equation.
Yes.
Now, I'm not being horrible to some of the other people I've named. I mean, Kenny Money, I love Kenny Money to death.
Hey, listen, he's phenomenal.
3-time world champion. But John was 6.
Arguably one of the greatest athletes ever.
Hands up. Kenny was, I mean, I could talk for hours. Kenny, I'm going to wrestle Kerry Colott.
Yeah.
And Kenny Money's warming me up.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that, him warming me up behind the bench. And it was like, he's like, you're ready. Yeah. Now, inside my head, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. I ended up losing by, I think, 8 points or so.
Yeah.
But again, though, Kenny, I would wrestle with Kenny.
Sure.
I weighed 150 pounds. I was a 34-pounder at the time.
Yeah.
Kenny weighed 200 pounds. Yeah. I'm telling you, Kenny and Kendall Cross, when I would wrestle with Kendall, they called him Gumby.
Yeah.
You would hit him with a double leg and get them both off the ground. You'd slam him on the ground, and he'd bounce right up, whatever it was, and he'd throw his leg over you, and then the next thing you know, you're laying flat on your back, right? And I'm not kidding you. It was always like, I'd get back up, and I'd be like, I'm getting him. I'm getting him on this next one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would always make you feel like you're right at the doorstep.
Sure.
Now, mind you, John, the way I explained it sort of is, he would shatter you like a piece of glass and then stomp on all the little pieces, whatever was left of it. It was just the way, it was business. You know what I'm saying? But Kenny and Kendall and those guys there, man, they would make me feel like I was in it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Even though I think Kenny with his pinky could have just stuck it on my head and just shoot me away, goodness sakes.
So all of this experience, so what motivated you to open Liberty?
So when it got into the mortgage industry, so ultimately my family's doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to be a doctor.
Right.
I didn't end up going that direction in full. I went to Case Western, had a program through their medical school that I was in. I didn't complete the program. Mm-hmm. So when I left that program, I was a guy with a biology degree that really couldn't, biology degrees don't, no disrespect to people with them. I got one myself.
Listen, I got a history degrry, so I get it.
Okay, you get it.
Master's in history. I'm really smart on history.
So my one friend was doing mortgages at the time, and it was sales. And I knew that I just started doing it.
Sure.
And the next thing now mind you, actually, I first started flipping houses.
Okay.
So I was like, the doctor route's not going to happen.
Right.
Medical school's not going to happen.
Right.
Or completing medical school's not going to happen. And I started flipping houses.
Sure.
So the hunger to make money was not gone with my academic, with that leaving.
Right.
So I started flipping houses. That didn't work. I started day trading stocks.
Gotcha.
I formed a construction company, which I started doing roofing and siding and things like that.
Yeah.
And my friend was doing mortgages at the time. So I started doing mortgages just on the side.
Sure.
So I started doing mortgages on the side, and I figured out that it was a lot nicer to sit in a climate-controlled office than sitting on a roof in East Cleveland, ripping shingles off a roof from God knows how high. Right. So then I just started doing loans more and more and more.
Sure.
And by 2000, I went full-time into it. Wow. And then I came to realize, quite honestly, I tell people this all the time. I said, it's funny because at Oklahoma State, every single person on the team wanted to win a national title.
Sure.
And every single person in Division I wrestling wanted to win a national title.
Sure.
In my industry today in sales, I'm not kidding you, 95% of salesmen or salespeople, in my opinion, are doing it out of default. They're not happy with it. They're constantly looking for other things.
Gotcha.
And when I wrestled at Oklahoma State, and when I was a backup, my attention never shifted to I should transfer because I should be a starter. I always looked at it like I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it here or not make it here, and this is where I make my stand.
Sure.
And I either start or I don't, and I'm going to dig my heels in. I'm going to move forward with it.
Yeah.
And in sales, I came to realize that most of the people in the industry did not have my desire or wish for success.
Your grit.
Or the grit, if you want to say, to get through go through the grind of it.
And that's what, entrepreneurs either make or break themselves with their tenacity, honestly, because there's a lot of talent out there. But if you don't mix that together, forget about it.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because that's exactly what I tell people. Because they say to me, well, Hesh, you're successful, or I'm successful relative to some, but I have a lot more to go ahead, right? So in the end, I say to people, that I don't think that I don't have superior sales skills. I'm not a smooth talker. I'm not sophisticated in education. I have a degree in biology. I'm in the finance industry.
Yes.
Okay. But the one thing that I will put up against anybody is my tenacity and my grit.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that if you call John right now or talk to Kendall Cross or even Kenny Mundy or any of the people that coach me, the one thing they would say is that you couldn't break me.
Yeah.
I would constantly keep coming and coming. And when they would tell me, John would call me randomly on a Sunday if we already worked out and we weren't planning on 2 hours, he'd call me and say, hey, let's get another workout in. I would just say, when? Yeah. What time?
Right. And
I was going.
Right.
And it's the grit of going back into the fire.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talk about that all the time. In any wrestling room I ever in, I've said, look, I want to hire wrestlers.
And that's what I say.
I want to hire athletes, wrestlers. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I've only had 1 or 2 bad hires, and they had some other things going on in their lives. Yeah. But it wasn't about their work ethic.
Yeah.
It was about something else.
The wrestlers are it's like a piece of steel.
It is.
They bend, they don't break.
Right.
And then I'll even expand beyond wrestlers. I go to college athletes.
Sure.
Athletes.
Sure.
But wrestling is definitely, I had a conversation with a wrestler yesterday. He's coming in on Tuesday for an interview.
Fantastic.
I already told him, I said, I'll hire you.
Yeah.
Just because of your background.
Sure.
He was a college wrestler.
Sure.
I want to say it was a Division III All-American, I believe.
Yes.
And I said that it's not even the All-American. Right. It's just you're a wrestler.
Right.
Anyone who's wrestled understands you stop drinking water at 11 in the morning the day of a weigh-in, and even in high school, you're weighing in at 6, 7 o'clock at night. You cut the water out at 11 in the morning. To go without water for 7, 8, 9 hours after cutting weight by itself.
Yes.
That tests your intestinal fortitude of your strength.
No question.
So any wrestler, you don't have to be a state champion. You don't have to be a national champion. John used to tell me this all the time. I would say to him, when we were sitting in those saunas warming up, I'd always say to him, like you're just going to walk to the Olympic title. This is right before the 19 Olympics. And he always say, the next guy I wrestle could be the guy that beats me.
Right.
And he said, everybody wants to beat me. And it could be the guy I'm wrestling in the first round. And if it's not him, it's the guy in the next. He never took anybody for granted. He went
so smart.
And that's why whenever he wrestled me or Alan or Kendall or Pat, now I think Pat, he gave the big brother syndrome too.
Of course, yeah.
He was the older brother, whatever. Yeah. But it was the same. It was 150% from it. It was not, there was no let up from it. Yeah. And I took that, and not just that, Coach Flory, my junior high coach, my best coach in my wrestling career, my 7th grade coach, Coach Flory, Hillside Junior High.
Hello, Coach Flory, if he's still alive.
He is.
Right, we love
We're
him.
Facebook friends.
We love him.
Coach Prokopovich was the assistant coach in 7th grade at Hillside Junior High.
Sure.
That was my best coaches. My next best coach was Coach Trammell.
Oh.
Bruce Trammell.
Bruce, the second in the nation.
Runner.
Bruce.
Oh, okay. Oh, here. Yeah. I got to give you this story since I bring this up.
He's in your business, real estate, right?
He sells real estate. Yes. Coach Trammell says. See, I call him Coach Trammell because he's Coach Trammell to me.
Bruce Trammell. We love him.
So I'm at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
It's my true freshman year, and practice always starts every day at 3:30.
Sure.
So you get into the room at 3 o'clock because practice starts at 3:30. And John used to always say, if you're on time, you're late.
Yep.
So the team's in the room at 3. Practice starts at 3:30. I go to the arena at 2:30 because I lived in the Bennett dorms right across the street from the arena.
Sure.
So for me, it was easy. Just walk across the street.
Yeah.
So I go to the arena, and I go up to this gentleman's name. His name was Dave Martin.
Okay.
Dave Martin was the assistant athletic director of the university. I talked to Dave Martin, and I talked to Coach Chesbro.
Sure.
Coach Chesbro, I got a little story on him too, if I can tell it.
Yeah.
But so I go to Dave's office every day before practice.
Yeah.
Well, Dave's the AD, the assistant AD of the university, so he's got this big, gigantic office.
Yeah.
Which on top of the fact, to an 18-year-old,
oh my God,
it seemed like a palace on top of it, but it was a beautiful office.
Yeah.
So the one time Dave's on the phone, I'm just sitting in his chair waiting to talk to him in front of his desk, and Dave hangs up the phone, and I'm looking at his plaque that he's got on the wall. Now Dave wrestled with Dan Gable on Iowa State the year that Gable lost to Larry Owings.
Wow.
Dave won the national title.
Wow.
So they were teammates, him and Dan Gable were.
Sure.
So he'd always give me Dan Gable stories, and we talk wrestling stories. I'd listen to his stories.
Yeah.
Dave was awesome. And to this day, he's the assistant AD still at OSU.
Wow.
And we still talk periodically.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at his picture on the trophy stand, and he's at number 1, right? And I'm looking at the number 2 picture. He hangs up the phone. I say, Dave, that guy that's on the second place stand there in your trophy when you won the national tournament there, I said, I swear that looks like my old high school wrestling coach. He says, well, Hesh, who was your high school wrestling coach? I said, my high school coach in 9th grade was Coach Trammell, Bruce Trammell. And he says, Hesh, that's Bruce Trammell. I beat him in the national finals. So it ends up that I'm at Normandy, and I go all the way out to Stillwater, Oklahoma.
I love that
and my
story.
assistant AD beat my high school wrestling coach.
I love
and then after that, it goes John Smith.
Yeah.
I had Coach Kudrin throughout the rest of Normandy High School, which was always great to me. He always supported me when I was gone and out too. Sure. So I've got a lot of great coaches. John, great coach, love him, trained me on how I do business today. But I still say my best was my junior high school. They had the biggest effect on my life. They had the biggest effect, I think, on my life, whereas John showed me how to reach a level that was just unreal.
Well, and that rings true to so many. And my own story, Dominic Imerino, is like a father to me, and I had the honor of coaching him, of interviewing him about 2 months ago. And it was just beautiful just to sit there and listen to him tell the story.
The coaching is like even yourself, like John Carroll. Like I remember I would go up and just sit on the wall and just watch.
Sure.
Which to an elementary school, I was in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, to watch these college kids. First of all, I thought they were all 80 years old. They're all
of course. Old, right? They're animals.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they were they were 18-year-old kids.
Exactly
too,
right.
themselves,
Just
right?
kids. Yeah, just doing their thing.
But going to John Carroll and the coaching staff up there, including yourself, and going up to Solon to see Coach DiGiovanni up there and Coach Ferguson up to St. Ed's. And I think we had such the teams, Cleveland State in the 1980s.
Oh my gosh.
Paul Capper, Guy Sacco, Dave Waldors, Dave Zaransky.
Yep.
That lineup, I remember when they wrestled Iowa. I remember when they wrestled Penn State in the dual meeting. And Paul Capper wrestled Jim Martin. Yep. And Cleveland State was ranked in the top 7, 8 in the country in the 80s.
Top 10.
Always.
Perennials.
And it was so much pride. I used to go down to all those matches, and those matches shaped me to go to Oklahoma State. Where like when I went to Oklahoma State, I was like, I've been up to Cleveland State's room, and I've seen the greatest wrestle.
I can do this.
So I mean, a lot of the things around this area locally in Cleveland helped push me up another level to go to where I went and get to where I am.
Well, Hesh, this has been a marvelous interview. And I could talk to you for hours.
Well, I appreciate it.
And but we're trying to keep it around 30 minutes, and I think we're a little over.
Talked to you
the stories have been fantastic. Please do not apologize. It's wonderful. And so, what I want to leave the audience with is give me a nugget that you'd like to leave our audience with about business, life.
What I would say is wake up every single day thankful that you've got another day ahead of you.
Sure.
Have a positive outlook, a positive mindset, and every single day pour every single thing you've got into that day. Set goals, identify tasks to achieve them, and then execute them. If you follow that frame of thought, you'll be successful at every single thing you do. It's not necessarily financially, because that doesn't define us. Yeah. But you will be successful at everything you do. Those are the things that I try to adhere to daily.
Have a plan.
Yep.
Work the plan and seize the day.
That's it.
I love it.
On a daily basis, each day.
I love it. Well, Khash Saghafi, good luck with Liberty Mortgage, and good luck with coaching, and good luck with your life.
And I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to let me on a podcast like this, in which you had legends of the sport. And we start saying Lee Kemp, Guy Sacco. Yeah. I mean, to me, Guy Sacco, I remember when he hit the high flyer and pinned the guy in Cleveland State.
Indeed.
And then I'm good enough to. You're nice enough to have me on here. I sincerely appreciate it. So the opportunity, I sincerely appreciate.
Well, just pay it forward.
I shall.
And we are honored to have you, my friend.
Again.
We're honored to have you.
Thank you so much again.
Well, thank you again. And remember to visit our website, Blood Time, at mvpodcasting.com. The inimitable Maverick Peters from Maverick Mondays. We love him to death. Of course, this is Coach Cimarroni with Blood Time. We are blood. Love to all. I want to share with you my thought of the day. Agendas are a thing of the past. It's time for authentic humanity. I want to thank Serve Pro of Beechwood, our newest sponsor, and Jack Coslin, the owner. They serve all of Northeast Ohio, not just Beechwood. They specialize in disaster cleanup that leaves your home or office like new, like it never happened. Flood and water damage, fire, mold, and they say even blood and guts. Not just any Serve Pro. Seek out Serve Pro of Beechwood. That's Serve Pro Beechwood, Shaker Heights, ClevelandHeights.com, 216-464-4498. Operated by a former All-State wrestler from Beechwood. We love Serve Pro of Beechwood.